ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us, Coffee Hang. We have the great Jeff Salem in the house today.
Thank you, Jeff.
Right Jeff, there. You got to show us that coffee cup. You got to show us the coffee cup.
Oh, the one I'm drinking?
Yeah. Look at this.
Look at that, huh?
This is awesome.
I don't eat the cereal. I just use this to put coffee in it. You know?
I used to love Chocula, and I used to love Blueberry.
Blueberry, Frankenberry. There was one with wasn't there a werewolf one or something? I think there was.
Harryberry,
yeah.
That could be an RD department thing, I think.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Well, let me tell everybody a little bit about you.
Okay.
Mr. Salem is a drummer. He is an educator. He's an author, an environmentalist. It keeps going, right? You have books out, drumming books, inspirational books. You have the Enviro Drum program. I can't wait for you to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Salem's Hot Sauce, which I have bottles in my fridge, and I'm a huge hot sauce fan. And that's kind of how we met before the hot sauce thing as drummers.
Yes, that's right.
Back in PASIC, we actually met.
That's right. That's where it was. Yep.
Yeah. And if anybody doesn't know what PASIC is, it's a Percussive Art Society International Convention held in Indianapolis, as well as Austin, Texas. Great, fantastic program. Also, you are promoting a book, right? Finding Success as an Individual Artist, which is really cool. I can't wait to hear about that. So, do you want to tell us all about?
Yeah, let's start with that. The idea of the book here. I'll do a little plug here on the book.
Yeah, please do.
And it's funny because there's actually some funny characters throughout the book. I started, the idea of this was like going back, believe it or not, this is 25 years ago. I started doing programs in schools called Music's My Passion. So I used to come into school and I used to bring my drum set in there and I would set it up. I would open up this talk on how I got involved with music and stuff. And I, burst into a drum solo. And I would just talk about everything, careers in music and stuff like that. And when it first started off, this is kind of what my gig was all about. We'll drum for food. So
that's great.
So over the course of doing hundreds and hundreds of schools with this, and this when I had hair way down to there, like teachers were allowing me to come in, and I always heard the message through many different school principals. They says, you got a lot of interesting stories. You should document this. You should put this out in a book. And believe it or not, it was on my bucket list to say when I turn 55, I'm going to start writing this book. Well, it started actually when I turned 50. There was a point I just had so much information. I started wanting to write this down and stuff like that. And I didn't really script the chapters, just wrote a whole bunch of things. And I had maybe about 50 pages written. I started sending that out to friends of mine of all occupations, whether somebody was a lawyer, a doctor, some great music education. I said, listen, I'm not known artist globally, but would you find this interesting content to read? And everyone says, oh my God, this is really cool. Keep going with it and stuff like that. So the whole focus of the book was whatever you're passionate about. You could be a juggler, you could be a magician, you could be a comedian, anything, a ballerina. It's like, how do you take your passion and make money into that? Really, make passion pay. And through the course of doing those clinics for over, 20 years of doing clinics and schools and stuff like that, the 4 key things I found to have longevity in any kind of creative passion, whether you own a restaurant, is first of all, know your skill. So the first section of the book talks about developing your craft, right? Knowing everything about drum, just like researching hot sauce, you guys researching coffee. There's the first thing. Then you get to the point. The next thing is basically, I found really important is actually, how do you take that skill set and then bring it to a professional thing? Well, one of the things is your personality, your attitude. How do you get along with people? And I've always liked to use the analogy of somebody owns a restaurant. You may have the most fine gourmet recipes, but if you're not a people person, you can't get along with your customers. Yeah. There's a problem right there. So that's the second section. They're just talking about your personality, attitude.
That's very similar to the music world for us.
Absolutely.
And this is why we call this the Coffee Hang, because as we were talking on the phone, as musicians, when you're on the road and touring and playing with other musicians, the hang is 90% of it.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, and you could have the best players in the world playing,
Yeah.
But if they can't hang out and they're not a person, like a person, people
Yeah.
person, you don't
Yeah.
want them on the road with you because
Yeah.
you're spending
You
more
already-
time hanging out than you are playing music together.
For sure.
Exactly. I'm gonna, as I'm talking, I'm gonna dig up this one picture, this character picture. Is, you know, if somebody calls me for a gig, it's like a corporate gig, and says, "Hey, I need to put a band together." Let's say I want a sax player. Well, I got a list of my dozen sax guys that I can call that I know they have the skill set to pull the gig off. But the next thing I know, listen, I'm going to probably be with this person about 8, 9, 10 hours, you know, setup, sound check, dinner, you know, before the gig, post gig. So who's the cool person I want? I want somebody that's fun, energetic. This is the guy I don't want. I don't know if you can see that picture. So, you know, there's me on the kit, right? And then there's a guy, you know, miserable guitar player. He says, "I'd rather be at home," you know, and you know, that was a section of my just personality traits and attitude. So
Look at you, Frank.
yeah, you know,
What wrong?
yeah.
It's huge. I mean, you already get the gig by your talent, you know. So now it's that part, man. Like
now it's keeping it. So the third section of the book, I just talk about this is most important: your business skills, your organizational skill, how to negotiate, you know, being reliable. My biggest pet peeve with anybody is somebody who's late. Like, you know, if I got a gig and say somebody says, you know, sound check's at 4, you know what? I have this thing. If I'm going to be 5 minutes late, okay, that's a wide one. But if I'm 15 minutes late, I will phone, I'll text, "Hey, I'm running a little behind."
Yeah.
This is the thing. So it just talks about that. And the last section of the book is just, you know, trying to live like a clean, healthy lifestyle. Like I relate a lot of personal stories on the being on the road. Like, I mean, there's no successful drug addict. There's successful drug dealers, but that's a short-term career, right? But so really, those are the 4 chapters that and I had a personal friend of mine who did some fun characters throughout the book and stuff like that. And you know, and then I put it out. It's an easy read. It's like 150 pages, clean. It's not like Motley Crue, The Dirt. Like, you know, I've given it to students in grade 7 and 8. So I've done a lot of school talks on that book. You know, so it's like a 2-hour talk PowerPoint presentation. So it's just like a fun personal kind of life stories I share and give it advice, you know, lessons I learned, lessons that, you know, how can I improve on that? So really that's what the focus of the book was all about.
So let me ask you this, sir, where can we buy it?
Where can we buy it? Great. Just through actually my website, the drumsinu.com. So that's just a direct thing for me that anybody can pick that up from me and stuff like that through that. And then I have a Facebook page. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put a link into the video here.
Okay.
You'll see the link down below, and you can go there and order it up because I can't wait to read it.
Yeah,
perfect, man. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. So again, that's been the non-drumming book that I've put out. If you want to look at that. Right?
I remember, I got a quick little story. So I remember when I was in Grant McEwen College. I was studying jazz, and a quartet came from Toronto that were going to U of T at the time.
Okay.
And they come and did a clinic for us, and they were playing and blowing our minds. And when they were done, the drummer, they did a question answer period, and the drummer said, I can't remember what question he answered, but he said, if you're in music for money, get up, there's the door, and walk out.
Yeah, yeah.
There is no money in music. I mean, you know,
exactly.
This is a little bit contradicting to your book because we are making a living, or we were making a living.
Of course.
So it can be done if you're a professional and you do it right.
Of course.
In
Absolutely.
the big picture, the idea of money in music, you got to have the passion first, you know.
You have to have the passion first, and then you'll get rewarded for all the time you put in, persevered and working hard and stuff.
And
like
I wish when I was going to school that I had a book like this, or that you know, more say clinicians or you know, educators and stuff like that were talking about those topics in drumming or in music. Because we didn't know enough about that. We might have taken music merchandising, but that's just like an overall view of business, not like showing up on time to the gig. These things are very important.
I have a really interesting story to share in it, and this was a story I briefly shared it when I was interviewed in Drums Etc. maybe about 8 years ago, where people kind of look at, you know, whatever we're passionate about. You know, when I started making hot sauce, it was about, I never looked at about that to make money. It was just, I wanted good hot sauce for myself to consume. Just like, when I learned to play drums, as a teenager, you have these, visions of being on stage. You go see a rock concert, I'd sit there, I would doodle like bass drum logos with band names that you make up, and you picture playing in front of 10,000 people. But when you were at that age, you're not thinking about, I wonder how much money I'm going to make. So I'll share just like an interesting like story, like, I call it students for life. So, hand drumming is a very big thing that I do, as, the connection we had doing drum circles at your daughter's daycare.
Right.
And if you would have asked me over 20 years ago, if I saw myself in a gymnasium with, 50 kids all gathered together and their ages are just a little over my age combined, I would have never visualized that. But I've always been intrigued about hand drumming. So it was an interesting thing is about 20 years ago, I took a facilitation course. It was down in Dallas, just to learn more skills about like, hey, here's a drum, 30 people have drum. What are we going to do with this? So if I can get some tips and stuff like that. So I just have to share this about when people visualize music for just money. So we were a group of about 50 people there. And I remember the guy who was facilitated, his name was Arthur Hall. Arthur Hall would be like the Dom Vandalera of hand drumming. Right. And Arthur said, so who plays an instrument out there? And I thought, well, this is a weird question. Everyone here's got to play drums. And out of the 50 people, maybe 10 hands went up. I'm like, oh. And the guy started going through instruments, who plays guitar, who plays piano. So the hands got less and less. So who actually has played drums and has ever done a gig and been paid for it? So my hand went up with someone else's hand. I'm looking at these 48 other people. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this is cool. So this can be such at a beginner level. That's cool. So they're here to learn and inspire. So throughout the course of the next few hours, they started dividing us in groups to kind of get together, to get to know one another. And everyone asked the question, so why are you here? Do you know everyone in that group, except for the two professional drummers, myself and the other drummer, says, oh, I hear there's big money to make in doing drum circles. Huge. I'm like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I work at a bank. What do you do? I'm a waiter. I go, so what do you mean there's big money? I go, so what's your background on playing this instrument? I go, never done it before, but hey, it can't be that hard. I just take something, I just hit it a few times. Internally, I got so angry. That's like me saying, you know what, Frank, I'm just going to grab a guitar. I don't know, there's 6 strings. I put my fingers here. I'm making music. I'm going to grab a saxophone. I'm just going to blow through it. I'm making music. So what was interesting is when everyone had to stand up to facilitate in front of them, not only these people didn't have confidence, but there was no sense of rhythm because they just thought, hey, anyone can just do that, whatever. So it just really blew my mind, the false vision they had that anyone can do this. And the reason they were there was because they knew there could be good money in it. Yes, of course, but you gotta like develop that skill. In time. So it's just you
have to have the passion for it because there's going to be times when you're not making money, and if money's your passion, it might as well be be a banker like you are.
Well, what was funny, there was one person in that group who ended up, lived in the States, and we kind of kept in contact and was always asking me for advice. And they ended up buying like 80 hand drums. Says, I'm going to start this. 6 months later, that person contacted me and asked me if I would buy their drums.
Want to buy some hand drums?
I felt bad for the person, but it's like there's no shortcut. So I always say to people, I said, wow, you're so lucky. You get to luck is a prepared opportunity.
Wow.
Right? Just like you're launching your coffee thing, but you guys prepare for it. You spend over a year researching what you want to do. Like people say, wow, you're lucky you got your hot sauce in that store. Well, I worked hard to get in that store. I went in there with something that I felt was store ready to be bought. So you keep
working hard to keep it in that store too.
That's right. That's right. And that's what I always tell students about, let's say you get that big gig. That's like winning the lottery, but you got to win the lottery twice to keep the gig or keep the record deal.
Yeah, man.
Right? That's the thing. That's
and like anything, you've got 100 people lined up behind you that want that gig. The moment you do one mistake, and you're tossed out of the gig. And what you were talking about, one thing I find that's weird is people never visualize. They think of music as, well, that's the one job I can just fluff off at. Why do I have to be on time? Why do I have to be that? And those people, as phenomenal as some of these musicians are, they're not getting hired for some of the great gigs, and they're always complaining about, well, how come I don't have that gig? It's like, well, yeah, you can cut it, but you're showing up late. Your gear starts falling apart. You're
not learning your stuff.
Learning not learning material. As great as you can be, you're just playing through whatever you want to play, as opposed to learning. So it's important.
Exactly.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Salem.
All that.
How's the COVID situation affected you then? Like, we talked a little bit about all the gigs you lost, but maybe you could go into that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, maybe on a positive thing, this is giving me a reality of what retirement life might be like. But I know if I'm retired, I'm still gonna, sell this stuff, right?
Yeah, you're still working, sure,
and still do some gigs. So obviously, I'm still able to conduct lessons. So now there's the learning curve where lessons now, okay, we got to do things online, and it's kind of funny because I remember about 12 years ago, I used to do a Skype lesson with somebody in China, overseas, and I said, you know what, that might be the future of lessons. So I'm trying to make things a little positive. To say with my students, I'm saying, hey, listen, you're in your own home, you're saving time and money with your parents and gas getting here. You're on your own drum set. So one good thing is I can really see their drums set up and the ergonomics of it. So I'm trying to put some positive stuff in it. So what I try to do is I set up my iPad with the lessons exactly where their drum throne is. So really they're exactly seeing me as in there, but we're not live to live. So I've been able to maintain most of that. And because we have a teaching school, teaching studio, we have a few other teachers, they've been able to maintain that. So that's a positive thing. The thing about the gigs, it's again, a very unfortunate thing because, the challenge, I think what really started even in 2019, because school workshops have been a big part of what I do. And, between drum circles and EnviroDrum, I probably do close to 75 school events a year. And it already started on the South side because of the teacher strike situation.
Right.
So back in the fall, I had a lot of stuff rescheduled to the spring now. But obviously with this whole coming in, this COVID situation, it's really put a damper. But everybody's affected. It's not like I'm the guy losing it. You guys are both losing it. So we have to be strong, or we have to come together as synergy and say, hey, okay, so how I'm trying to look at things positive, I know some stuff will be salvageable towards late in the year, but talking to a lot of agents and promoters in the States, 2021 is going to be booming because every little town, community, Rib Fest, festivals, the Wednesday night concert series are going to have money and budgets because none of that was blown this year. So that's how I'm trying to think that. I go, 2021 is going to be a big year because and it's really kind of unfortunate because with there's three main tribute bands that I work with. I got Epic Eagles, Epic Journey, the ACD Show Canada. So combined with all three of those, probably this year I probably had about 80 gigs. I'm not saying they're all gone, but out of those 80 shows, about 55, 60 of them are gone. But you know what? I'm just trying to look. Hey, you know what? Next year, it's just like we just put a mute on this, and they're gonna carry over to next year. So, so how it's affected? Well, it allows me to do things around the house. Being a student again, daily, almost daily, I'm posting things. I'm going through old drum books. I'm going through stuff I wrote 15 years ago. Goes, I don't remember how to play that groove. I got to. So it's kind of you're delving back into being a student again, and this opportunity has opened up other things for doing online stuff. Like I just actually got a confirmation on April 23rd. I'm going to do a live chat with Dom Famulero with Sabian, discussing this whole teaching thing. Hey, how can we make the best of the situation?
Now, when was that again, Jeff? Can you just
so April 23rd at 2 p.m. I was just sent, actually I was tagged a link on my wall this morning for that. So every week they're featuring some amazing drummers around the world. Klaus Hessler, who's from actually Germany, doing events. So they're doing this whole 4-week series, a part of that. So it's going to be kind of a live thing.
If people want to check it out, where would they find it?
That would be like through Sabian.com.
Through Sabian.com. Okay, cool. We'll put the link in as well.
Yeah. So I think, that's basically, so another advantage is the COVID situation. It's give me more opportunities to binge watch series. Like I just started Game of Thrones last night, and I know that's
you've never seen it before.
No, I know.
No spoilers. Have you avoided spoilers?
What's that? Sorry.
Have you avoided the spoilers?
Yes. Yeah. I just watched one episode yesterday because I was just getting through all these other ones. I just finished Shameless. Which
Oh,
is
that's
like-
funny. Yeah, that's
that
good.
that is pretty hilarious.
That's
one.
funny,
So it's giving me more time, and just hanging and spend time with my wife Helen and doing things around the house. And we have a dog and go for walks. So yeah,
Ah,
it,
good.
it is it is what it's like. Where it's fact, same with the hot sauce too, because my sales in hot sauce are down like 80%. Because when people go into grocery stores, people are like, or if they're ordering, they're like, I'll get some eggs, I'll get some bread. Yeah, I'll get a bottle of yellow Pinot. That's not happening. like this is impulse buy, right?
Yes.
I mean, I do have some people who've actually ordered, which is cool, and a few stores. I dropped off a small order the other day to Whole Foods, but it's just really surreal. It's like, okay, leave your stuff here, 20 feet away. I cannot sign your invoice, and it's like, okay, nope.
Yeah.
Clipboards down across the floor.
Yeah, no kidding.
Virtual
but,
sign, right?
yeah.
Well, so Game of Thrones, Shameless, anything else that you're watching
What's good is the Kaminsky Method. I don't know if you've seen that one.
Oh, what's
That's
that?
a good one. It's really good. It's with Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin. Michael Douglas is kind of like a washed-up has-been actor, and he has like a teaching school for actors. And Alan Arkin owns like an agency, I guess, the Book Entertainment. They're older guys. They're playing their age, roll 70s and the 80s. They're just trying to get through life. It's funny. It's a clean one, definitely. That one. I've been bouncing back for Narcos Mexico is a good one.
Oh yeah, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another one. There's so many kind of. Let's see. Shameless. I already said that one. It's another good old one. I don't know if you guys ever seen Prison Break. Prison Break's good. Or Wentworth. Wentworth is a good
Wentworth,
one.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Australian prison, female prison. Way better than Orange is the New Black. Much
Yeah,
better.
right. Well, do you remember the show Oz?
No.
Because that was a prison show before any of these other prison shows
Okay.
came about,
Okay.
and it's pretty graphic, pretty ruthless.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It's called Oz. Yeah, it might be worth checking out.
I've got.
Go ahead, Frank. Sorry, bud.
Yeah, I was just thinking the other one was there was a great film. I can't even remember when it came out from New Zealand called Sleeping in the Shadows.
Oh, okay. I've heard that one.
Is that what it's called? Sleeping in the
So
Shadows?
what we do
I
in the
remember the word
shadows.
chat.
What we do in the shadows. And
Yes,
now
I've never seen that word. Yeah, that's
And
a good one.
It's a spoof kind of what would you say, Frank? Like a kind of a Spinal
Almost a
Tap-y.
Spinal Tap, a vampire film, done real low budget, and now they got a series. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Mhm.
Awesome.
So, what are you listening to these days, brother? If you
Oh
had to
my
pick
God. Yeah.
records right now.
Yeah.
COVID
Okay.
isolation records. What are
Okay.
they?
You know what's funny? This was the hardest question of all, because I said to myself, you know what? Because most people, you know how they answer? They just pick a band. They'll say all of Zeppelin, all
Yeah,
of John
right.
Coltrane. But you know what? I can divide it in 3 categories like a meal. You have your appetizer, main course, dessert.
I love
Okay.
it. I love it.
So
Give
my appetizer, I'm gonna go with drum roll. Please.
Oh, hold on.
There. that sounds like my stomach rumbling. That I need to send the fax. No. See, no one knows what that is, right? Okay, I'm gonna go with Wynton Marsalis Standard Time.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. That one just because here you take all these jazz standards that a lot of us here are very familiar with, and they just do this polymetric modulation, rhythmic twist all throughout. Like you take Autumn Leaves. So I never get tired of listening to that one album. That to me, okay. Now, because I'm so active, doing the hand drum thing, I never get tired. Like, I call it like timeless music. Like when I hear Bob Marley, that's timeless music,
Yeah.
right? So I actually have to show you the CD. I've worn out the CD. This is a compilation. This would be the second one. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Oh, very okay.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of world music. This is kind of my go-to CD with all my hand drum stuff. When I do like cultural drumming events, I'll get a little closer here.
Yeah.
When I do stuff for the month of February, Black History Month, I make a lot of reference because there's a lot of great music on the CD from many different countries in East Africa, West Africa. I never get tired of like that CD. I can listen to all the time. So there's my world drumming so far, and then we have the jazz one. Now for dessert, just for
Before you
something.
hit the dessert, can you answer me one question?
Yeah.
Can you hold that thing up again for me?
Yep.
Um, what is that?
Okay, so
What
this
is a CD?
okay. So the name of it. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
what is an actual CD? I don't understand what that is.
Okay.
What is that device?
I'm
How do you play that thing? Do you put that into your iPhone?
No, it's a coffee coaster.
Yeah.
That's what I do with all my, because what's funny, I'm sure this is available on iTunes. So the company who has it, what is it called? Putumayo. I don't know if you can see that. But
I remember those being at.
Yeah, they have. You know what? They have a whole series like Brazilian music, Cuban and stuff like that. But that's timeless for me and stuff like that. So now, of course, the roots of hard rock, metal, rock and roll. Let's face it. I mean, how many miles do I got invested playing versus ging, 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 ging. I still got a lot doing that, but a lot more kilometers playing rock. A lot of great bands, but what album I would say I listen to a lot because it's been out for almost 20 years is Linkin Park's first CD, Hybrid Theater. Because when you listen to that, when that came out at that time, you're blending rap with electronics and just a lot of like heavy guitar, and it was interesting. I remember reading an interview with Neil Peart years ago. Somebody asked him, goes, "What are some of the new rock bands that come out?" And I remember him mentioning that album and that CD. So cool. So that's kind of like, when I'm in my little, like my convertible car, I'm booting down the road, I got the roof down. That's just kind of like, I cranked that album. I mean, there's a lot of like, but when I read that question, I go, man, how can I answer this? So I have that on my Spotify thing. It's like, I don't get tired of that first CD at all. Yeah. So there's
that record is that you're right. Like that was the first time that sound started to show up.
That's right.
So it was something new for us. It was like, I agree with you 110%. That was fantastic.
Because I think that came out in 2000 or 1999. It was one of those years.
Heard of it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So those would be definitely the three that I'm never tired of at all.
I love when people pick records that have a complete, one genre's way over here and the other one's way over there, something down the middle of the pipe. I don't think like you, I'm a rock guy, and Frank, you got a rock background too. Yeah. But we just love music, right?
Yeah.
I love
exactly.
I've said this my whole life that if it's good, I love it.
Exactly.
No matter what it is if it's good, I love it.
Yeah, and it's even like playing tunes too. Like I know a lot of guys. We make fun of like playing so many. How many times get tired of playing Brown Eyed Girl?
Oh, I knew you. I thought you were going to say Mustang Sally, but I knew.
Mustang, yeah. But the thing is, like, I mean, if somebody plays that on the gig and plays it like they don't give a shit, right? Then it's going to be even worse. But like, at least if we can play it and like, hey, throw some being authentic to it and play it at the right tempo.
Play it the right way, the right tempo.
Yeah. Like just what I'm saying. It's like, because those are going to be the things that are always going to be around. Like, if you're a working musician, you're going to take songs that have been around 30 years ago and probably going to be played 30 years from now. And that's some of the things that I really stress with a lot of my students that I've been teaching for years, because I've had some students that have such a strong skill set. But their repertoire, they're so pigeonholed maybe into this known death metal tunes. So, if they show up at a gig, I mean, how many times that, we've sat in on a gig and somebody might give you a song title. I might not know the whole tune, but, if somebody says you're going to play, I don't know, Hush by ZZ Top, at least have some understanding that it's a shuffle, it's very driven like guitar based, like, understand some kind of, direction that, when somebody says, hey, it's a shuffle group, you have something to play to it. Where I have a lot of students, I'm saying, here's 100 songs that you should have in your back pocket that you should always know and stuff. So that's one of my teaching methods, saying, you can know all these patterns, but, when you're going to get hired on the gig, I mean, chances are you're going to be, if you're going to put money in your pocket, this has got to happen.
That's right? It. That's why we call it the money beat.
Backbeat,
Yeah.
I always tell my students, it's like, wear the hat of that player. You know, if you're going to cover a song or you're going to pay, you know, homage to a song or tribute to a song, you know, where did that, who is that player? Whether it be the guitar player or the drummer, bass player, whatever your instrument is, you know, where does that player come from? What are their influences? Like, get in their head, get behind their playing, put that hat on, do their nuances. You know, you can still, once you've paid tribute to that, you can add your flavor to it. Not before. Not before.
Yeah, because I've known so many musicians of all instrument caliber. If they were ever let go on a gig, it'd be one of two reasons: either something to do with their attitude, or they were irresponsible, or they just, you know, they never played the gig properly. They were self-indulgent. It's either one or the other. That's what it is.
And it's like, it's, you know, there's Sweet Alabama, and there's a lot of songs, but if I'm on a stage, you'll never know which song I love and which song I hate.
That's
every song exactly. You're gonna think I love every tune I'm playing, and I love the fact I'm up there getting a paycheck for it. There are better songs that I like over other ones.
I have such a funny story about, and this was years ago when I was doing some cruise ship gigs. I remember we would be done early, and then I really hit it off well with this jazz pianist who was like, he was like, you know, sitting there in the bar, and he would play, and somebody, you know, put like 10 in the fishbowl on to request Satin Down, and he was sitting and smiling, and then they were done, and he leaned over to me with this English accent, and he was dropping F-bombs and basically saying, you know, if I ever had to play that again, I'm jumping overboard. Like, and it was just the funniest thing. I go, really? I said, you look like you enjoyed that so much. And he goes, yeah, what's the one song you hate? And I would say something. He goes, take that to the power of 10. And that's me on that. I go, you would never tell. You would never tell. Because he was an entertainer. He entertained those folks.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, if I was on a cruise ship with my wife out of Mobile, Alabama, you can imagine which song we had to play, especially on the way back to Alabama.
Oh man! Wow.
So yeah, I'm really good at D, C, and G. You know.
Yeah.
But you never know I tired of it, because I'm putting tips in. So hey, you know, that's
exactly.
Well, sure.
But
okay, so sir, I got another question for you. Or the audience has another question for you. This is the call-in show.
This is call-in show. Hello.
So, you do a lot of stuff. So you do stuff in music. You do stuff out of music.
Yes.
Other than what we've talked about so far, would you find that you have other passions outside of music? Outside of your hot sauce, what else do you do?
So outside of the hot sauce as well too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For the longest time, I was a really big fan about ball hockey, but unfortunately, I've torn my meniscus in my knee so many times. I've had surgery, so I had to end that, unfortunately. So, but you know what? I'm very passionate about wine. I'm a big, I don't want to say wino, but I'm really big into
Really? Okay. I know that. Cool.
Wine. Actually, there's some wineries that I do make a hot sauce for, but I'm just really big into vintage wine. Know a lot of wine region. It's funny. There's a great movie on Netflix called Uncork. It's about a guy, small town in Nashville, who actually is an African American guy who wants to become a sommelier, and it's so funny, a wine expert. And his parents goes, "What's that? Is that a professional pirate?"
Sommelier, exactly.
Yeah, it was just funny. So I'm really big into that. Cigars, I enjoy cigars. You know,
cool.
I mean, it's hard doing that right now because there's nowhere to smoke these days. Yeah. And obviously, like, getting more into cooking and stuff like, so everything's still some ties into actually, you know, which leads off of the actual, you know, hot sauce as well and stuff like that too.
For sure.
But yeah, I would say, big into like researching a lot about wine, reading up about wine and pairing and different foods and stuff, and cooking them, mixing them, that. So that's a big thing I'm really, really into. And I love coffee. And this is where I like you know, of course, like where
Italy.
But you know, so my only little kind of background on coffee, and I think I even shared that with you last year, is that, you know, obviously I do a farmer's market for I love it, man. Can I get this close enough? Can you top that up? There we go. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
Get your cup under there.
Once we get our Star Trek
over here. Where are you? I gotta pour you over there.
I don't know. There you go. No, I've always been into coffee. At one point I was selling a little bit of coffee a few years ago at a farmer's market, just like a local roaster would do something for me. It was their recipe, and I put my own private label, and it was basically I don't want to call it the cauldron wake up, the cauldron crank up, and it was just something, you know. It was, but it wasn't my kind of recipe. It was ideal at a farmer's market. Is that, you know, they open at 7 a.m. How many people want to try hot sauce 7 a.m.? Not many people. And it was just an alternative for people just to buy it. Like, I wasn't brewing it, I wasn't selling it. And that wasn't what my interest was at that time. It was basically an extra accessory that I can do. But I've always enjoyed like a really good cup of coffee. But, you know, when I watched your video, very impressed with the video about just coffee, you know, 101. And here's something that I was not aware of, you know. Obviously, knowing the color of the beans, obviously like green beans you roasted, but I was not aware that a light roast has more caffeine.
Right.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one
Frank,
of the things that.
Hey, Frank, why don't you take this one, buddy? Tell Jeff the whole spectrum there, the roast then, and you tell the audience, studio audience.
I think, but a lot of it, the part of the thinking the caffeine is higher is the stronger flavor of a dark roast. So we start, it's like an espresso flavor, so it must be strong. It must have a lot of caffeine.
Yeah.
You know, dark coffee is what I'm going to, you know, green. I don't know if you remember Green Acres, where it was almost like sludge going into the cup.
Yeah. Yes.
But the lighter one, because you're doing less roasting, there's more caffeine still in the bean.
Which now it makes sense when you think about it that way.
Of course, you think of that. But what you're doing, because you're roasting it less, it's a fruit, so you're getting more of the fruit flavor in the light roast. Mm-hmm. And then as you come across it, you start going into nutty profiles in your mediums, and then as you go darker, we get into chocolatey caramel flavors with the darker roast and stuff like that. So the flavor. And I remember when we first started, we were told about, you know, snob notes for coffee, and we're like, really, they exist? Because Ed and I are both dark roast drinkers, so I just got what I thought of coffee. But as we explored it, it's like you can start tasting, I mean, almost like if you go really light, it almost gets tea-like, like with all the, you know, the bergamot and all this stuff in the flavor of that. So we approach it more from a dark angle, but our coffees have all those profiles.
That's right.
And coffee. I know we had a lot of sleepless nights on tour trying a lot of different roasts. So, you know.
My question,
go ahead.
A question for you. So let's say I had 2 cups of a light roast, 2 cups of a dark roast, like day apart. Would I really feel that difference caffeine wise from that light roast?
Yes.
I would. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Especially if you like, I find if I don't drink coffee, say for a day or something, like for whatever reason I didn't drink.
Yeah.
And then I hit like something like that. Like we went to the Toronto Coffee and Tea Expo, and we got in there, and I mean, I think I'd already had a coffee in the morning. You know what I mean? On the way there to the Coffee Expo. But we got there, and the first bean we tried, what was that bean, Frank? I always forget the.
It was a Peruvian. But it was the llama had eaten it, and then the droppings.
Right. So it goes through the llama's, like, you know, digestion process, and then comes out, and then that's the process.
Wow.
So, and it's very expensive coffee. It tasted fantastic.
Really?
But I was zipped. Like, I've never been that zippity doo-dah in my life. I was walking around there contemplating whether or not I could even think about drinking any more coffee.
Wow. And that was 1 cup?
You're supposed to just try to,
it was a little shot glass of coffee.
It was just a little shot glass, Jeff, like that big. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you
it was a light roast bean, a very light roast bean. So very high concentration of coffee. And I think going through the digestive system of the llama, so then pooped out, I think that made it enhance the strength of that caffeine.
Yeah.
Enhanced it.
Wow. So
it made it weird.
So generally, like a breakfast blend, would that be a light roast because they want to give you like the caffeine boost?
Light medium roast. A lot of times a breakfast blend would be a blend of a light and a medium roast. So ours are all single origin. So our light roast is one bean from one location and no blend of roasts in it. It's just it's
Okay.
roasted the way we want it. Our medium is roasted the way we want it, and our dark is roasted the way we want it.
So right now, I couldn't recall. Is it 4 different types of coffees you guys offer? Is it 4?
We have decaf on top of there too.
Okay. So if I'm more like a medium roast kind of guy.
Yeah.
So which one should I buy from you? What caseload should I buy from you?
Well, that would be Queen Bee.
Absolutely.
Queen Bee. And I've always heard different stories. So a whole bean, what's shelf life on that? I've always heard different stories. So
Well, that 6 to 9 months is
Okay.
shelf life unopened. Once you've opened it, you're
Yeah.
probably looking at, I mean, as soon as it's done roasting, it starts
Yeah.
to decline, right? But
okay.
and you can, you seal it, you preserve it, it'll
Yeah.
last longer. But once it's open, you're talking 25 days.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Unless you can
Okay.
reseal it, then you slowly, but every time you open it, the gas is released, like all that
Of
stuff.
course. No, and this is good to know because I wanted to reconfirm that. Yeah. So I've always read it like 6 to 9 months and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
So
as well, so-
the Queen Bee, I was just going to say the reason why we called our medium roast Queen Bee is because it is the pinnacle. It's like where the roasting profile, the roasting spectrum comes up. Right there is the best roasting profile. Is right in the middle,
Okay.
right in the medium roast.
Yeah.
So Queen Bee is the head of the hive, and we think that's the best name for it, Queen Bee. So that's
Nice.
that's our medium roast. Yeah.
And that's
Okay,
Beatrice.
okay.
That's
And
Beatrice.
yeah.
That's her
There
name.
you go.
Queen
There
Bee.
you go.
Beatrice.
I did experiment with the hot sauce with coffee beans, so we can talk about that.
No, we need to talk about that right now. Come on, man. What happened?
Is
Is it an accident or?
just I did this a while ago. So this is the one of the ones that I have with chocolate in it, chocolate and strawberries and chocolate habaneros. And I put some coffee beans in it, and it was really good. And there's you got chocolate with like Belgium chocolate. I actually tried it with coffee beans. I tried it without coffee beans, and I like them both. You can definitely taste the difference from one to the other and stuff like that. And there was strawberries in it with chocolate habanero. I was actually making that for a guy who was marinating steaks at a butcher shop. So there was coffee beans in that, just grounded up.
Mind if I ask you the process of how you put that into the mix, or is that a secret?
No. It was just it was just like a spoonful. I would just
Did you grind it though, or did you?
I got fine grind.
Fine grind. Right. So
Yeah, into that. And there was the flavor of that. You could actually get a flavor out of that doing that.
Right.
So and I mean there's even talk about I've talked about even making thought about an idea of like a little spicy coffee with cayenne. Cayenne would be nice because you could get spicy chocolate, right?
Yes.
But you don't want to go too spicy because here's the things that I learned that coffee does not. If I'm eating eggs and I put a bottle of this is the hottest stuff I have. It's called 6 Feet Under.
Yeah.
That and coffee don't work. There's 2 things I know that coffee don't work with. Okay, it's that definitely coffee and hot sauce don't work together, and hot sauce doesn't work with smoking cigars either. That just they cancel.
How that would work? I don't even know how you got involved with that one. I don't know. Smoking cigars while dinner and I don't understand that combination.
But we'll keep you wide awake
That
when
must
you're
have been an accident.
Yeah.
So.
But no, that's great. So I definitely I want to pick up a bag of that so we can discuss that. How either I can drive by your place and I'll roll down my window and you can just throw it at me, right? And it's just
Absolutely.
like a football touchdown.
Literally.
So there's 2 ways you can get it. One, you can go to www.morninbuzzcoffee.buzz and order it online and have it delivered.
Okay.
Or right now during the COVID during the COVID-19 pandemic, we're offering a $5 delivery charge to anywhere in the GTHA area.
Okay.
So if you're in the Greater Toronto area or Hamilton, within that we deliver for $5. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
So we got one more question for you, Frank.
What's next? After this?
I wouldn't mind telling you guys how I started how I got the hot sauce going.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, because a lot of people are just always curious. Like, it's kind of an interesting story, like how I turned it from just making it for myself, and then how did I start putting it in stores? The reason I just started making it for myself was I remember, I don't remember where I was, but I was somewhere in the States at this restaurant that said they had cool, authentic hot sauce. I was really excited to try this gourmet stuff. And when they brought a thing out in sauce, it was just so watery. It reminded me of like those little packages you get, when you order Chinese food, you rip it, and there's so much sodium stuff. And I remember sitting there, and I go, and this would have been probably, what year this would be? This would be like 2009, so 11 years ago. And I just says, that's it. I go, you know what? Why can't someone make a sauce where we just complement a pepper with only fruits and vegetables? Nothing else.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to research. So, literally, I was so frustrated after that meal. The next day, I just got a whole bunch of peppers. I got a whole bunch of different fruits and vegetables. I just put them on the counter. I just started experimenting. And I just made a few different sauces just for myself. Some tasted good. Some tasted really, really awful, right? It's just like proportion-wise. And so when I finally came up with 2 or 3 little things in a jar, so I had a lot of hothead friends. And I just said, hey, what do you think of these? I would go to the dollar store, get a little friggin' jar, fill it up. And, a couple of them says, hey, that's good. I like this one. Maybe put a little more tomato in that, with a little more garlic. So I finally came up with one recipe, and this is what that recipe is now. So that was my first one with the witch on it, being Salem, the scary witch.
Very cool.
So it was just in a little jar, and it was my own personal bottle of hot sauce. I took that everywhere I went. And so I was playing a wedding gig. True story, in Aurelia. So it was this bottle with a masking tape label on it. It says Salem's Scary Hot Sauce. I had my phone number on it. And that was just my own personal thing. I would just put everything. That's all it was. So it was an outdoor wedding gig, and there was a whole table of condiments and barbecue sauces and hot sauce. So at the end, I just left it there. I'm like, hey, people like hot sauce, they just leave it there.
Yeah, with your number on it. That's amazing.
The next day, I got a phone call from a police officer. A cop called me from Aurelia. He goes, yes, hi, is Jeff Salem there? Go speak and go, this is Andy Mueller from Aurelia OPP. I'm like, yeah. He goes, were you at such and such wedding yesterday? I'm thinking, I didn't touch the bride. I left my hands in, and I go, yeah. He goes, I found a bottle of hot sauce with your number on it that was left at this table. I'm like, okay, everyone got sick. Everybody was sending faxes, and it's like, so I'm like, he goes, is it your sauce? I go, yeah. I go, is it everything okay? He goes, yeah. He goes, I just want to know, do you sell it? I go, no. He goes, well, I'll be your first customer. So I started making big masonry jars for this police officer. Yeah. Then I started getting bottles, and then he was selling it to his friends. And I kid you not, and then I put a small label on it. And then I remember about a month or 2 later, I was in Huntsville doing a corporate drum circle, and my extension cord didn't work, so I went to a Home Hardware there. And at this Home Hardware, at the friggin' cash register, was my hot sauce. I go, where'd you get this? It goes, oh, Andy, the police officer, a friend of ours. He says, I didn't tell him it was mine. I go, oh, that's kind of cool. Do you want a bottle? He goes, no, I got plenty at home. They're probably thinking, yeah, asshole, you don't want to buy it. So that's, so it was that person who fueled my passion to take it to that next level. Yeah. And then I would get it into a few small stores and markets. So that's the second level. And then the third level, doing all the, proper commercial kitchen, nutrition labels and that, which brought me into my stores, about, 40 stores, including stores like Whole Foods.
Great.
So what's on next, new for me? I don't want to jinx it now, but in the fall, I do have some this has been the only good piece of good news during the COVID. I have some big things that are going to happen with this in the fall. It would happen now, but because this COVID thing, it's delayed it to the fall. So I'm just going to leave it at that, because you don't know what's going to happen with the world. It could kind of jinx, but this is now going to go to the next level.
So where would somebody keep an eye on that for this new news? Where would they go?
We'll be basically just on social media. So at, Instagram's at Salem Hot Sauces, or my website, but definitely Facebook as well too. I'll be making announcements of that.
Facebook / Jeff Salem.
Yeah. and stuff like that. So
and Twitter at Salem Drum.
Salem Drum, yeah.
Get that out there. And also Enviro Drum.
Envirodrum, yeah. So and this is where I might shed a tear because April's my busiest month. Not now. I mean, like, it's fine. Like Earth Day this year, April 22nd, Earth Day is like a New Year's Eve gig. I had 3 gigs booked, actually. They're all out like Niagara, 3 different schools. Again, and this kind of reflects the thing in my book, because people said, how did that band start? Like, how did you start Envirodrum? Band's been together 11 years now. Unfortunately, this year is their quietest year due to the whole, situation with this teacher strike. Yeah. Majority of my gigs are schools. I'd say 80%. But we've done festivals. But again, like you guys know, like if somebody calls either and right goes, hey, somebody recommended you. I'd like to hire you for your service. I go, are you familiar with this catalog of this band? Even if you're not, because, oh yeah, sure, send me the material. You always say yes to the gig, unless it's unrealistic. Somebody called me to do a taiko drumming event. I have to turn it down. I don't own Japanese taiko drums. I just can't. I try to say, well, can we replace it with an African drum? And it didn't work. So what happened was I did a big hand drumming thing for Loblaws, for Galen Weston, the president, I think that's his name, Galen, the president of President's Choice. This is going back 12 years ago. Big hand drum thing, 500 of his employees. I had my team, the Drums and You team. We went in there. Everyone had a drum, a shaker or something, but 500 instruments. It went really well. They were very happy with this. A few weeks later, his secretary called me and says, hey, Jeff, I'd love to get your advice as a professional drummer. Galen Weston's got this yearly thing coming up in about 8 weeks. And he wants to do this thing like Stomp meets Blue Man Group. And I've researched some bands online. I'm wondering if I can get your recommendation, which one would be best recommended for. We want kind of like a trash band. Unless you have your own band like that. I go, I sure do. She goes, you do? What do you call them? I'm like, Envirodrum. So right on the spot, she goes, really? She goes, do you have any videos? Well, we do a lot of school. You see, this is where you're allowed to politely lie. I said, well, we do a lot of school stuff, so I don't have some stuff on video, but I'll send you a whole proposal. So I got off the phone and I phoned a couple of my drum teachers and I said, hey, have you ever heard of this band called Envirodrum, man? There's these guys, they hit trash cans, they promote recycling, they have themes, they talk about statistics. I said, oh, it sounds really cool and educational. I go, good, you're in it, So basically now I assembled 4 guys, and now I start researching stuff online. I'm like, there was a lot of stuff like that, and a lot of stuff, especially people bring the element of drum corps stuff. I'm like, I got a few weeks to put this in shape. What would make this different? And it's so true. I woke up 4 a.m. to go to the washroom. I'm like, let's add a keyboard player so we add sounds. So we basically got together. We did a practice. And I said, okay, I want this one to be hip hop. I want this one to be like a samba. I want this one to be rock. And we just started with instrumental stuff. Then we started taking songs, change the lyrics to reflect on recycling now. Cool. So now I've actually, trademarked the name. I franchised it. I have somebody in Washington, D.C. who does the show. So it's a whole kind of scripted show. Normally we do 30 to 40 shows a year. So it's a fun thing because where can I go do a gig where I'm on the gig with 3 other drummers? Like, very, very rare. So the one thing that I've learned that's really helped me bring it to schools and get into schools is when principals want to hire something for a school, it first started me coming in with a pair of sticks, practice pad, working with the 3 drummers in the whole school of 1,500 students. Now the music's my passion thing. Now the classroom with the band students. Now I bring the drum circles, maybe grade 5 and up. Now with Envirodrum, it benefits the environmental group. It benefits the music students. So from K to grade 8 or whatever, it's a concert. Yeah. So it's a fun thing. And the best part about it is I can keep my gear in my van because if anybody looks in it, all they see those big blue bins. We use them as road cases. All their stuff in there. It's like there's no musical equipment.
There's nothing in there.
So can you describe a little bit about what are you using in your performance?
Okay.
Like I know you said keyboard, but maybe you give an idea of
okay. So basically, when we first started putting together, I went to a Rona store and started getting like the blue bin stuff, Rubbermaids, the actual bucket drum. So those are stuff that are kind of, and then we kind of built around that, getting metals, plastic, wood, and assemble things that really sound like real drums. So you got a Rubbermaid thing and you got a bass drum pedal hidden on. I remember Modern Drummer feature, they used to do the drum kit of the month. A few years ago, they did this whole Enviro drum thing with that. We use the ladders as well too. But when we do workshops, we get students to create instruments, and a lot of them we've taken their ideas. So here's a great one. Let's see if you guys can figure this one out. So I did a summer camp. So I had the kids create instruments, clever, and a week long. So now I want these kids are ages 9, 10, and 11. I said, I want you to create an instrument that you can play without using your hands or your feet. So you got to think about that. So they all went home, and all of them, nobody could put something together except one kid. This one kid, I remember he was this little Turkish boy. He came back. He had this leprechaun top hat, which was green. He went to the dollar store and got these little recycled, it was a blue bin and a green bin, strapped them on his hat, filled the one up, the green one, he put like popcorn in it, the kernels. The blue one, he put bottle caps, strapped it under his neck, jumped up and down, said human shaker. It was unbelievable. It was like, it was so creative. It was so clever of him doing that. So and honestly, at some point, I always need sub players. When that gets back off the ground, I'd love to do it because we did Open Streets of Toronto, and Mark Schulman from Pink was in town, and and I know Mark very well, and he said it's on my Instagram at Envirodrum. He's there jamming with us. He spent like 10 minutes playing with it. So it's a fun thing because everybody can kind of relate to that,
Yeah.
So
Have you seen that Dr. Seuss machine at some of these farmers markets or outdoor festivals? Like, I've seen it last year for the first time. It's like a Dr. Seuss. It's a drum bus or a drum thing, and it just looks like a Dr. Seuss thing with all twisted stuff everywhere, and there's drums and stuff to hit everywhere. So this guy in the festival or in the farmers market.
Do you know the guy's name? Do you know the guy's name? Oh, okay.
He's dressed up like a Dr. Seuss character too.
Oh, okay. No, I've never seen that.
All the drumsticks, all chewed up or pieces of wood. And everyone's jamming. So you got to imagine, I'm going to this festival with my wife and my kids, and I'm walking from the car, and we're walking towards the grounds, and I hear this. We'll call it racket for right now.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if like World War III's happening or what's happening. But there's chaos going on, and I get there and I'm like, what is this? All like, snobby nose. And I get closer to it. I start feeling it. I get a little.
Yeah.
Before I know it, Jill and the girls can't find me. They look over and there I am with a pair of sticks. On the jamming along with these kids and adults.
Nice. It's funny people like that because we do Open Streets of Toronto, and we're set up right on Bloor and Avenue Road, and we have all our contraptions, and people come by and they're like this, and 10 minutes later they're like, they turn into the big kid. Yeah. So one thing I do have with them, I made an Envirodrum hot sauce called Envirodrum Burn and Bum hot sauce, and it's green. It's a green hot sauce,
Oh, okay. What's the ingredients? What's your
that one was jalapeno. It was just strictly jalapeno.
I need that. I need that for my collection, my Salem law.
I think this is the one. So this is the one that won an award in Texas. So this placed first out of 600 entries, and the category was called All American Hot Sauce. It was a blind taste test with 100 judges, and that's what made me laugh. Is I won the All American category. I'm Canadian, and they sent me I got a trophy out of it too. It was like that's that. It was like I laugh. I go, the last time I got a trophy was playing hardball as a kid. Grade 7 or grade 8.
Now, was it most valuable or was it participation trophy?
What's that? Sorry.
Was it the most valuable or was it the participation trophy?
Oh yeah, I know exactly. It was a trophy. Nowadays it'd be you get a trophy for coming in 11th place.
Yeah.
That's right.
Back then, participation wasn't a trophy; it was just a ribbon.
Yeah.
Everyone else got the trophies.
Yeah. Exactly. But So again, I think it's going to be just exciting. Like I wish I can fast forward like 12 months from now and just see. I think when everything gets back to normal. I think the reaction is going to be like, do you remember 10 years ago when Team Canada won the hockey Olympic, gold medal? You remember just everyone was happy, the energy, or even like the Raptors last year, right? So I think it's going to kind of be like that, like when things get back to normal.
Everybody's planning some big parties, you know, like
Totally.
a long weekend. We always play this party in Port Credit area, a street party where they close down the street and they have fireworks, all the neighbors come and all that stuff. This year, obviously, it's not going to happen. So they're saying like they're going to postpone it once we're all back to normal and we can, you know, be in the same area with each other. They're going to make it even bigger, and they're closing down the whole street, and they're bringing in bigger production and more.
Yeah,
people are going to be starving for that.
I know they will, and like there'll be opportunities like being triple booked, you know. So it will be a big thing for sure. You know,
this
stuff
is
like
good.
that.
This is healthy. You know, this is it's good for us to talk, and people want to know what's going on with super awesome people like yourself, man. You're a huge inspiration.
Thanks, man.
I thought you were just a drummer and a hot sauce guy.
Hey, well, you know what? I'll tell you one thing I do with my students. So I always have this thing with them when I teach them. I always get free coffees. You know how I get free coffee off of them? So, you know, when they come in for a lesson, it's like, you know, especially if I'm teaching 5 hours, you know, I tell them, I go, have you ever played a one-handed flam before? I throw that to them. They go, one hand. So I'm not sure, Frank, if you know what a flam is. Basically, two notes that almost simultaneously almost fall together, right? I go, a one-handed flam. It's like, that's impossible. If I can do a one-handed flam, will you bring me coffee next week? And like, you got it. I'll bring you coffee for the month. So you ready? Eddie, ready for the one-handed flam? Yeah. Okay, hold on a sec. You can see my drums, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, ready? Watch this. Look. See that? It hit. This one went first. This one second. There you go. One-handed flam, right? So you know that's my way of weaseling coffee.
Are you trying to say that
we overdub a tambourine?
Coffee from us, Frank? Hey, I think we got to end this. Where do
I recommend the decaf for Jeff.
Yeah, that's right.
People come in with like videos of one-handed flams.
That was fantastic.
Oh man, awesome.
Is there anything else you want to tell us, man? You got a lot going on. This is fantastic.
Yeah, no, just you know, just I'm like I said, just you know. I think I'll always continue teaching. Music will always be around. Like, you know, you know, like I said, I've written some books through Hudson Music, but this is the one book that I'm teaching out a lot, the KIT method. I co-wrote it with a teacher, a friend of mine, Matt McFarlane. It's got the whole, like, comes with a big poster like this. It's got 9 different levels. So it's like when students pass each level, they get a strip of tape around their stick. So it's like martial arts, karate, and stuff like that. So what's really helpful for something like that, especially this time with lessons where you do them, is that sure, if I prepare something, I write it out, I email it to the student ahead of time. But at least now doing things online, say, hey, turn to page 112. We can kind of focus on that. So I always think that's going to always be a part of me teaching. So years to come down.
The students out there, if they want to check out this book, where would they find that?
Yeah. So actually, the website's called drumkitmethod.com. Drumkit Method, and there's actually on that website that entire posters myself and Matt McFarlane playing all the exercise that they can kind of watch and stuff. Because sometimes I get an email, like, it's funny, like some of these things I've been posting on Instagram, it's just somebody will message me and goes, hey, can you like play that groove that was on that video I did back in Groove It? It was like that first video I did was in 1995. And I got to literally go, I don't know what groove you're talking about. And I go watch it, I go, man, I got to learn that again. So this is giving me time to practice this stuff, So nice. I'm always going to teach. The hot sauce will keep growing. I'll be drinking coffee, your coffee definitely. I'm excited about that.
I forgot to ask you one thing, and we have to address it. We talked about you being a drummer. We talked about on the road. We talked a little bit, and an educator. We see you're a drummer. Look at behind you there. That's awesome. My kid. I only got one up, one down, but
you can't do the one-handed flam, man.
Right there. Look at that.
You can't do the one-handed flam.
Throw it.
Oh, the one. Look at those records on the wall behind you. Now,
coffee coasters.
A little bit about, like maybe you can tell the audience who you played with, because I got a story for you. I was maybe 16, and I was in Red Deer, Alberta.
Yeah.
I went to the Red Deer Centurium. It was a new Coliseum built around that time.
Okay.
And there was an artist, my favorite artist of the time, Lee Aaron.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you were playing drums.
I played with her, but I wasn't on that gig with her in Red Deer. I don't think I was. Wait, if you told me the year, I would know.
Well, it would have been.
I was 93. I was in there. I was with her in 93.
Yeah, I think that was it then.
Okay, so it would have been me. I've been to Red Deer so many times, I don't remember. So
well, it was a drummer with a lot of blonde hair.
Okay.
I think that was you.
So yeah, my whole so we're gonna do this. My whole background. I started playing drums when I was 13. Turned 40. Actually, the day I bought a pair of sticks, it was announced on the radio John Bonham died, September 25th, 1980.
Wow.
How bizarre is that? Yeah. So I talk about that in the book. Took a lot of lessons. So my main teacher, local drummer Dan Bodanis, were great friends. I don't know if you know Dan, wonderful guy, great jazz player. He's my financial investor, planner. When I turned 18, I auditioned for a band called Fist from Ottawa. They're still around. They've done a lot of great albums and CDs and back then cassette tape. So that was kind of like a snowball effect, from many other original bands. A band called Swords, Saints and Sinners. We did a CD. It was produced by John Bon Jovi. We did some touring with some bigger bands in the States like that. But, it got to a point where in the early 90s, and, subbing, Leon was like I was subbing in on that gig. I just really wanted to get into music education. Yeah. So that was a big part of that, like studying. So I kind of came off the road and then fuel my energy into studying and then teaching, but still doing gigs. And if I wanted a hiatus from a gig, from teaching, I would maybe go do a cruise ship gig, playing a lot of big band jazz so I could read in charts and stuff. And then, mostly, there was a time period where it was just being a freelance musician. Like some of the stuff on the wall, the CDs, stuff I did for Canadian Idol, for the first couple of years I came out when Kalen Porter won. And just as a freelance guy, but probably, the last 5 years has been more like the nostalgia of just doing a lot of tribute acts. So It's funny because I'm getting a little taste of what I did in the 80s with the big audiences. The difference now is I'm actually getting paid for these gigs. Back then, your money went to the guy setting up the drum set and to the tour bus.
Yeah.
Where it's like now, you do this big gig and it's like a meet and greet, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta go tear that kit down. Darn it. So I always laugh. I remember seeing a Stickman drawing in Modern Drummer. It said First Drum Center. And it was like, it showed a snare with a little cymbal. It said, a few years later, you saved enough money from a paper route, so it showed like a kick drum, like a little, like maybe a 4-piece kit. And it said, discovering rock and roll in chicks. And it showed like big double bass with gongs and stuff. And it said, after doing the circuit for 30 years, go back to photo 1. Right?
Right.
Right? So, but that,
from a snare drum.
Yeah. That's kind of a synopsis. So the one original artist I still get to work with is, I don't know if you know Rob Tardick, wonderful guitar player, smooth jazz player. Yeah. He's put out probably about 6-7 CDs. I've been his main drummer for the last about 10 years and stuff playing. And there's a lot of other great drummers who work with him in the city. Like I know Dave Patel subs in plays with him as well too and stuff like that. So I still got my hands in a little bit of the original stuff. But I miss the days, like headbanging, long hair on the road, but kind of get to do that with the diversity of the tribute band. So
we've done it.
Fun.
Back when I used to have the long hair too there. It's hard.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Without the hair, now you can see all the weird drumming faces.
Oh yeah. I win on that one for sure, man. Totally. That's why, if you notice the videos I post, they're always from this angle.
Right.
Because if it was fun, it'd be like,
exactly.
It would be that.
Yeah, but I've heard some of the grooves you're playing, dude. And your brain is working really hard because those are pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Ah.
Yeah. Awesome, man.
Frank, you got
your drummer's there. I'm a guitar player. I just boom chick. As long as your pocket is good, I control it. That's all that matters. Everything else you do is irreverent. It's the backbeat, and great backbeat is what I look for in a great drummer. So
well that exactly. Someone with good time, good feel, and not playing,
great hot sauce.
Bill, so yeah, exactly. Listen.
Hot sauce.
What's that?
This man has had your hot.
I have tasted the hot sauce. We've eaten it on the road.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
coffee afterwards and then sent a few faxes out too after.
There you go. Absolutely. That's the way to do it. Well, I definitely enjoyed this time, guys, and I appreciate it. Yeah, no, definitely. And I'm going to, before the weekend's over, I will go to your website and dial up and order some coffee.
Yes, great.
You don't have that llama coffee? That's not you guys who do it, huh?
No, well, I mean, we could do our own version of it, but I don't know.
Perfect. I'll take one from each of you.
I'll make an order. I'll put an order of hot sauce in. It'll be here after about a week. We'll have some llama coffee for you.
Perfect. There you go. See, that's how we collaborate, boys. This is it. This is synergy. There we go.
Jeff, we can find you at your. If you wouldn't mind, sir, just shoot off where we can.
Oh, okay. Yes. So for Instagram related to drumming, at Salem Drum. My website for anything I do, drum lessons or hand drum, is drumsinu, like the letter U.com. For the hot sauce stuff, it's a long one. Salem's Lot, 2 T's. Hold on a second. Do I got anything?
And we'll put after this video, you'll get to see all the links and stuff like that, so you can.
Yeah.
Put that. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So Salem's Lot with 2 T's. I don't have my card here. Hotsauces.com. Well, it's probably like kind of like, yeah. You can probably not. You can't even see that on that. It is on the bottom. I keep small thing. And there's Instagram at Salem's Hot Sauces, and I think I kind of covered it all. And then Facebook is just Jeff Salem.
Yeah.
Find me there, and there's all the other pages I have with the Find Success drummer book and all that kind of stuff, guys.
Listen, man, I said it once. I'm going to say it again. You're a huge inspiration, and just what a pleasure to chat with you, man.
You guys too. I look forward to us doing this in person.
Yes, and we will.
Hopefully sooner than later, and salute. So you know what I'll be filling this up soon with, right? There you go, guys.
All right,
guys. Listen.